First and foremost, before we get started, I like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekah Kwadash, and double honors to those great millstone, while unto his truth, and also to those elect that is scattered abroad. I like to say, Shalom. Come back here today with another great and powerful lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And the title of today's lesson is Modern Day Segregation. So I like to say Shalom to all our listeners and learners. Hope this help you today and guide you back in the path of righteousness and back to your true power, which in fact is Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. So before we start today's lesson, I have a quick news article here by Reuters. And it reads, it said Trump administration removes ban on segregated facilities in federal contracts. Let's get a little bit more. It says here, said the administration of U.S. President Donald Trump has removed an explicit ban on segregated facilities like waiting rooms, restaurants, and drinking fountains for federal contractors, said a memo issued by the U.S. General Service Administration showed. Said the memo was issued last month, but media outlets took note of it on Tuesday after a report from NPR. Says why it's important. Since taking office on January the 20th, Trump has taken multiple steps aimed at dismantling, said Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Program, or the DEI, said in the federal government and private sector. It says in one such executive order, Trump revoked executive policies dating as far back as 1965 on equal employment opportunities, environmental actions designed to protect communities of color, and workforce balancing efforts by federal contractors based on race, gender, and religion. The 1965 action aimed to end discriminatory practice in hiring and employment on the part of the U.S. government contractors. So we're seeing right now that, that history is repeating itself once again. So this segregation law, I think, was put in place. I think it was 1965. Might have been a little bit earlier than that. So we already know what happened back in those times. How it was a lot of segregation. Is already telling you about waiting rooms, restaurants, and drinking fountains. So we already know colors not allowed, blacks not allowed here, not allowed in the restaurant, not allowed at this restaurant, so they can deem you can walk into your favorite restaurant now and they can tell you, say, you're not allowed here, or we don't want you in here anymore because of this or because of that. So we seeing what it is going, targeting what people of color, the Negroes, the Latinos, the Native Indian, I'm talking to you. And one thing about it is that, you get ready to find out who is the devil that the Bible speaks of. And we're constantly warning you left, right. So we seeing right now, DJ Donald Trump, has put this executive order into place. And one thing about it now, so they can easily tell you can go into a restroom and they tell you, say you can't go in there anymore. This is for whites only. This is for Chinese only. This is for whatever only. You understand what I'm saying? So we seeing that we're getting very close to these totalitarian laws, these zirconian laws that this man is putting into place, this cruel Lord. And one thing about it, we thinking, through the spirit that DJ Donald Trump is going to be the new world order president as we speak. Thing is right on schedule. So he's getting ready to get it popping. Also, we knowing that once these things to come into place, we already knowing that the 2/3 is going to get it popping too. So we know that, it's going to come a time where it's going to be a so-called race war or civil unrest or civil war. They're already telling you about these things in the movie. So they constantly putting these things into place. That this DEA, this diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's constantly, slowly taking all of your rights away from you. You really didn't have no rights anyway, but it's only gave you an illusion like you had a right or you had some part in this society. But one thing about it, the system is rigged. And one thing about it is, white supremacy. They want to make America great again. And we're constantly warning you left and right. This is not your rest. So that's why I call today's lesson modern day segregation. You know what I'm saying? So one thing about it, it's going back into the 50s and 60s. We already knowing what time it was back then. They trying to go back to what the good old days. So we see exactly what is going, but it's all through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. So let's get a little bit more about this ban. You know what I'm saying? He's removing this ban, so it won't be no longer if a restaurant or a business or you go into some type of rest area or a restroom, they can easily tell you that you're not allowed in here. Also they can get the police involved and take you to a facility. You understand? You see where this is going? The devil should cast some of you into prison. So now let's get this here. It's a couple of photos I want to show you of these photos of these segregation signs. So this first one here says here, said waiting room. You remember we said in the Reuters article, it said waiting room for whites only by order of police department. So this was back in the 60s and the 50s. So you're seeing where it's going. It's another one. It said waiting room for color only. So this man is, you understand where this is going. So we're constantly warning you left and right. The devil's getting ready to come down with great wrath. Whites only. You know what I'm saying? Whites only. See, it says that we serve whites and said, and no, this one where here said no Spanish and Mexican. So it's talking about what the northern tribes. So one thing about it, we're constantly warning. Also, they still is pushing this deportation. So we're seeing right now they're getting closer and closer to their main objective. You know what I'm saying? To get ready to put hands on what people of color. Jacob's trouble is at the door, and we're constantly warning whites only. See all this, man? Look at all this, man. You know what I'm saying? And one thing about it, he's in for a rude awakening. And one thing about it, we're getting ready to trade places. They trying to put us back into slave. But one thing about it, they're getting ready to go into slave. All these nations are getting ready to go into slavery. You know what I'm saying? And we cannot wait. So look at this right here once again. This is a we serve whites. Said no Spanish and Mexicans. Said no dogs, no Negroes. See that? Who are the Negroes? You know what I'm saying? We're talking about the Southern tribe. You know what I'm saying? Hey man, this Bible is spot on, man. See right here, Mexican. You know what I'm saying? So they already pretty much know who you are. So they people of colors who they are constantly targeting. We already knowing about this massive deportation. And also he already signed that other bill. What was that other bill? About this 1798 bill. You know what I'm saying? What is this? The Alien Enemy Act. So seeing all these things lining up. So we already knowing that this is going into Project 25. That's something that he said he don't have anything to do with it. But this is what this is lining up to be. It also, it's constantly once again taking your rights away from your civil rights, defunding Black America, so-called Black America. Project 25. Look all these things up. Jim Crow law. All these things are back on the books now, and also when you get around to look up the King Alfred plan, and also, it's really going into what they really want to do. But, I can't go into all the way, but so we're seeing right now that it is very close at hand, what Jacob's trouble, you know what I'm saying, that hour of temptation. So now let's go here and get a quick precept. Let's go here to, before we start today's video, let's go here, Revelation chapter 12 and verse 12. It says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knowing that he has but a short time. So right now, this man is getting ready to put his agenda, his plan into place. You know what I'm saying? He's getting ready to try to fill his belly. That's what we constantly warning you left and right. But when he strike, the Lord is going to strike right back. So this devil is getting ready to come down with great wrath upon what? The Negroes, the Latinos, the Native Indians. This man is trying to take you all the way back to the 40s, 50s, and the 60s, and one thing when it's white America, to make America great again, the new world order. But guess what? He's in for a rude awakening. We're in a transition of power. And one thing about it, the Lord is getting ready to come back and set the record straight. So now, let's read this once again. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 12 said, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knowing that he has but a short time. He got bounds that he cannot pass. And one thing about it, it's inward thought that he what shall rule forever. But he's in for a rude awakening. The Lord's getting ready to cut him off forever. And once again, slavery is coming back in a big way. We cannot wait. So now, let's start today's video. And that video will start a lesson. And I hope that you will get edified.
Just in with some disturbing news from the White House. It looks like Donald Trump is trying to make America great again by bringing back segregation. It is no longer illegal for federal governments to segregate contractors in waiting rooms, restaurants, and drinking fountains. It seems like many Americans are having mixed emotions. You have a group of black women who are saying this is not their fight because based on the election results, if you recall, 92% of black women voted against Donald Trump. They say that they tried to warn Americans and they did not listen. But to be clear, black women do not make up the entire America. I'm interested to see, no matter what race you are, how do you feel about this? What do you think? Many younger Americans may be surprised to realize segregation was actually not that long ago, and the executive order that Trump has overturned was from Lyndon B. Johnson in 1965. And to put that in perspective, my parents were about 8 years old when that executive order was signed. There are still state and some federal laws that, protect people from discrimination and segregation, but many fear that the decision that Trump has made will cause a ripple effect. So tell me what you think.
Well, it's official. Segregation is now back on the table for the American government, and we have Donald Trump to thank for it. You heard me right. Thanks to Donald Trump, segregation is now no longer banned in the federal government. More specifically, government contractors are no longer banned from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking fountains. Yeah, thanks to Donald Trump, now government contractors can have shit like this again. And what was Donald Trump's logic behind this asinine decision? Well, he's tackling DEI, of course. Donald Trump is bringing back segregation in order to supposedly combat DEI. I wish I was making this shit up. I wish I was making up all of the insane shit that Donald Trump says and does. But unfortunately, this is just our fucked up reality now, and until somebody does something about Donald Trump, I'm afraid there won't be an end to the madness anytime soon.
Donald Trump will move ban on segregated facility in federal contracts. Things that you will find in Project 25, the same Project 25 that he claims that he didn't know anything about. You that voted for Donald Trump, was that what you voted for? If it is, congratulations.
I told y'all that this is one of the most anti-black racist administrations we've ever seen. Check this out here. The federal government no longer explicitly prohibits contractors from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking fountains. The segregation clause is one of several identified in a public memo issued by the General Services Administration last month, affecting all civil federal agencies. The memo explains that it is making changes prompted by Donald Trump's executive order on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which repealed an executive order signed by President Lyndon Baines Johnson in 1965 regarding federal contractors and non-discrimination. So there's been a lot of reporting around this, and so the whole goal is to say all these companies that you don't have to abide by these rules that say that you can't discriminate. What do you make of this, Larry? And I keep saying that probably the most violent racist we've ever had in the White House, and this says a lot, is Woodrow Wilson. This administration wants to defund Black America. It is targeting Black people. They are anti-Black. We can go on and on, and this, of course, is just another part of that.
Yeah, this is part of, the very beginning of a long 4 years. And Roland, I was on your show last week, and I said, we've been focusing on, we're using the phrase anti-DEI. we should be saying these people are pro Jim Crow, because this is a perfect example. This strong focus on anti-DEI. You're saying right. It's centered on anti-blackness. It is focused on dismantling all the progress that was made. And obviously we talked on your show a lot about the Great Society programs, the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, Fair Housing Act, etc. It is this. When he signed this executive order in the very beginning of his presidency, it was very clear about what he was trying to do here. Obviously, we talk about federal contracts. That's taxpayer money. So we're not moving forward. They're trying to dismantle, once again, all the programs that were created that was for over decades, really over centuries, in terms of black folks, in terms of being on equal footing, or trying to get as close to equal footing. They're dismantling all those programs and using taxpayer dollars to do that. And so when Ellie was on before, we talked about, I mentioned, we have to focus on discord and not decorum. People have to be willing, and I know black people are tired, but they have to be willing when we see things like this to make sure we're heard, not just at town halls, but various other methods we have to use to make sure that these kinds of things are reversed. Because you go back to LBJ in terms of the work he did, like I said, with the Great Society program, signing the executive order, and now here we are with the President of the United States policy that says openly say, you know what, don't worry about that. Don't worry about Jim Crow. Just go ahead and reinstitute that, and we'll keep moving forward to make sure every program, every right that black folks have fought for decades is just eliminated. And this is, once again, another terrible example of that.
So now we'll start today's video. We seeing that history is slowly repeating itself. We seeing that it's no new thing under the sun. And one thing about it, once again, they're trying to make America great again. This man right here, the heathens are raging. But once again, they're in for a rude awakening. So a lot of these people are trying to say that, do they have any right? Hell no, you don't have any rights here. You're in captivity. You know what I'm saying? These 2/3 are getting ready to find out, finna F around and find out. So now start today's lesson in here, Ecclesiastes, just rolling in the spirit, Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9. Let's start up here. And we get a couple more, we're closing. Not meant to be a long lesson. Let's read in the KJV first. Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9 said, the thing that had been is it. Salaki, let me start back over again. Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9, it said, the thing that has been, said, it is that which shall be, and that which is done, it done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So let's read this in the NLT. He said, history merely repeats itself. So it has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. So one thing about it is that we're seeing right now, history is merely repeating itself. And one thing about it, already knowing what happened back in the 50s and the 60s, colors were not allowed in certain waiting rooms. They weren't allowed in certain restaurants. They weren't allowed to drink out of the same water fountain as so-called white people, which in fact they are red, not white. You know what I'm saying? And one thing about it that we seeing right now, that this man is trying to bring this all the way back to the 50s and the 60s. And we already know what is getting ready to happen. It's getting ready to be a time of trouble that we have never seen before. We already know that these 2/3 are getting ready to get it popping. So let's read this once again. So that's exactly what we're seeing. They're seeing it with this DEI, which in fact goes into diversity, equity, and inclusion, for black people. Also, it goes into that these infirmity laws. I hadn't looked them up in a while, but anyway, it's dealing with people of color, for fairness and, also keeping the police off of you. So they taking all those rights away from you. So they pretty much get ready to do the damn thing. That's why I opened it up with the devil's getting ready to come down with great wrath. So it's no new thing under the sun. Also, you remember back in civil rights when that wicked Martin Luther King, he was talking about, we shall overcome, marching and stuff. These people was getting the hose beat down and getting the hose down and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? No, it ain't none of that getting ready to go down no more. The Lord's gonna lift up that standard. So now let's go here. We know that Jake is getting ready to get it popping. So they already tried to get it popping with that the name Daryl Chauvins, that dude that would this other case in Minnesota, but that was just another distraction. But we already knowing right now that they trying to make you react. They want you to retaliate so they can bring forth this Project 25, the King Alfred plan. Look those things up. You know what I'm saying? It's targeting people of what? A color. These Tartarian law, these Zirconian laws are coming live and clear. So let's go here to Genesis chapter 49 and verse 9. Let's go here. It said Judas is a lion's whelp from the prey. Said, my son, thou art gone up. Said, he stoops down. He crouches as a lion and as a old lion. Who shall rouse him up? So one thing about it is you already knowing that, you know what I'm saying, and rouse him up to raise up, you know what I'm saying, and get it popping. You know what I'm saying? You know, they want you to, start fire in the street. They want you to go to tearing down stuff so they can bring in this military and start to what? To put in unaliving you. We put it like that. So, that's what they're waiting for you to react. They want you to retaliate so they can bring forth the solution. And one thing about it, we already know that they're trying to exterminate the children of Israel, but it will not happen. They're in for a rude awakening. So let's read this once again. Genesis chapter 49 and verse 9 says, Judas is a lion's whelp, said, from the prey. Said, my son, thou art gone up. Said, he stooped down. He crouches as a lion, and as a old lion. Who shall rouse him up? Who shall rouse him up? And one thing about it is we already knowing that 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. So we already know this time around, it's going to be a time of trouble that we've never seen before. We already knowing that, it's going to be city against city, brother against brother. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be white and blacks, Mexicans. It's going to be a lawless time. So we seeing how this picture is lining up. They're constantly taking your rights from you. They constantly, you know what I'm saying, targeting so-called black communities, different things they're constantly putting into play so they can put their hands on you. That's what they're getting ready to do. We constantly warn you. Once again, the devil is getting ready to come down with great wrath, and who will rouse him up? That's exactly what they're trying to do, to rouse up Jacob, and Jacob is getting ready to get it popping. So now let's go here to Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah. These just random scriptures. It really hadn't put anything. I just seen this through the Spirit, so I'm just going to roll with it. And once again, I hope that you will get edified. Isaiah chapter 59, we get maybe 2 more, we'll close out. And verse 19. Isaiah chapter 59, verse 19. And it reads, says, so shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. So when the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. So when you go on that word standard, a way to escape. So supernatural intervention is getting ready to come into play. And also when you go into Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1, the archangel Michael is getting ready to stand up for the children of Israel. So the Lord is getting ready to dispatch these, what they even call UFOs, these chariots. They're already all around us right now, so we're seeing a lot of increased sightings of the UFOs, what they English call UFO, but we know them as the eyes and the chariots of Yahweh by Shema Shai. So the Lord is going to be with us. He's going to protect us in ways beyond our comprehension. So we already knowing right now this man is getting ready to come in with a flood. What is that flood? A military flood. That's what we're constantly warning you left and right about. It's already started with the northern tribe, with these deportation, massive deportation. And one thing about it is the Saul he got, Tom Ford, this man right here, he keeps saying they're not going to stop until they accomplish their mission. And one thing about it, we already knowing that they're this is what they're constantly putting into play. We already knowing that these things are constantly lining up, and also we know that they're getting ready to put in this digital infrastructure. But when the enemy coming like a flood, the Lord is going to lift up that standard. The Lord's getting ready to come with with that great fathership. The Lord's getting ready to deliver us, from out of the hands of these wicked devils. And we cannot wait. A lot of people still love it here, but you're getting ready to die here. That's what we're constantly warning you about each and every day. This man is getting ready to come down upon you with great wrath. We constantly warn you. We sound like a broken record, but man, this man is getting ready to roll. We constantly warning you. You getting ready to find out. We constantly warn you. Oh, the Lord love everyone. Everyone can be saved. But yeah, you in for a rude awakening. Let's go here. Let's go here to Micah chapter 2. This is not your rest. The Lord said, come out of her, my people. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of our people, they love it here. You know what I'm saying? And one thing about it, we already know that the Lord is going to cut the 2/3 off. Only that 1/3 remnant, the house of David, is only who the Lord is dealing with at this particular time. But we know that all Israel will be saved. They will be reborn through the 1/3 elect. That's a whole nother lesson. Also, reincarnation. A lot of these damn church going people, they don't believe in reincarnation. You know what I'm saying? They just believe in anything. If you believe in anything, you're going to fall for anything. So now let's get back here. Micah chapter 2 and verse 10, it said, arise ye and depart for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction. So one thing about it, this place is completely what? Destroyed. This place is full of wickedness. This place is full of what? Sexual immorality. All sorts of things that is displeasing to Yahweh. Let's read in NLT. It says, up, be gone. This is no longer your land and home. Said, for you have filled it with sin and ruined it completely. And about it, this is really going into the so-called white man, the devil that the Bible speaks of. This man done F this place up. You know what I'm saying? What the Lord said, he will destroy him that destroys the earth. You know what I'm saying? One thing about it, that the Lord's getting ready to set up that righteous order. We seeing that we're very close. This man is constantly putting all these damn executive orders in play. We really don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? That's why the Lord said, never trust thy enemy. As iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. You know what I'm saying? Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 10. So we see it right now. This man is getting ready to fill his belly, his agenda, his plan, his mindset. You're going into that 3-letter world, the NWO, and also it's going to lead to that grain of rice and try to put you in these facilities, and put that under your skin. This man is trying to make you a petrol slave once again. One thing about it, he's getting ready to be the slave, which in fact he is a slave. So one thing about it, the Lord's getting ready to give him a wake-up call very soon. So let's read this once again. Micah chapter 2 and verse 10 says, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. Say, it shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction. And how do you flee out of this place? How do you come away from all this wicked, come out of this mindset? Wisdom and knowledge should be what? The stability of the time. So now let's go to our last and final script. Let's go here to Jeremiah chapter 30. Jeremiah chapter 30, just a quick hit. Jeremiah chapter 30. And let's start up at verse 6, because we're at the time of what? Jacob's trouble. And also our great deliverance is at the door. Man, we ready to get the hell out of here. Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 6 said, ask ye now and see whether a man do travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins? As a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Let's go to verse 7. At last, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Who shall be saved out of the what? The 1/3 remnant. So the 2/3 is going to get destroyed on the side. Who will rise him up? So we already know that he's constantly putting these things into place to make you react, to make you retaliate, to want you to rise up. And one thing about it, we already know that the enemy is getting ready to come in like a flood. He's knowing that his time is very short. We're seeing that these other nations constantly making an alliance against what? America, Babylon the Great. This place is getting ready to be destroyed with those IBCM missiles. This place is getting ready to be a lake of fire. So what we constantly telling him, come on and bring it so we can get the hell out of here. We're ready to get out of here, left and right. So Jacob's trouble is very close at hand. Any given day, these things can pop off. And we're constantly warning you about them left and right. You got to be watchful. You got to be praying, sober mind, be vigilant. Because the devil is going to be like a roaring lion, seeking who he can devour. Let's get that. We'll close out with that one there. I've been quoting. I might well go in and get it. First Peter, I think it's 5. First Peter, let's go to the new, we'll close out here. First Peter, one moment. First Peter chapter 5, I think it's around verse 8. Let's start up at verse 7. We'll close out. First Peter chapter 5 and verse 7 casting all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. Verse 8 Said, be sober, be vigilant, or watchful. Said, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. So that's what he's getting ready to do. But when he pounce, the Lord is going to pounce on him. You know what I'm saying? And one thing about it, we already know that our salvation is very close. We seeing right now this man is constantly putting all these things into place. Once again, be, you know what I'm saying, be what? Be vigilant. You know what I'm saying? Be watchful. You know what I'm saying? Because we living in the end time, real time. And the devil is getting ready to come down with great wrath. So the title of the day lesson, once again, is Modern Day Segregation. So I like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Rekah Kwadash. I like to say, Shalom, Shalom.